everybody? What's up everybody? David Gamersy here. Here we're starting a Minecraft Let's Play video and yeah, we're starting fresh and well, there we are, we're back on 360 edition. So yeah, let's get things started. Let's wish you a name of world. Windows. Eight. One. See. That's what I'm recording on right now. Currently using my gaming desktop, which is running Windows 8.1, and I love it. Wow, this brings me back. Just seeing this on CRT, it gives me the feels, you know? This is how I started playing Minecraft on 360. Wasn't this update, but it was, I think it was T1 when I started playing on. But I decided to use this update because, you know, it has more stuff in there. Which, there we go. This is our world. Wow. Brings me back already. Fun fact, I'm actually recording this right now on, I don't know if you know this, but, the videos I don't have my webcams on, I'm actually using the HD PVR software, and I'm recording my voice through my, webcam. I usually do this with, like, more of my older videos. I record like it was when it... I know half you guys don't even know what an HD PVR is. Yeah, if you streamed back in the day, you'd understand. Like that was like the version of capture cards before capture cards, you know. A lot of the older streamers, they were familiar with this type of technology. Fun fact, I streamed Twitch when it first came out, you know. Wasn't really that popular. I think I had about 2,000 followers. This was around 2013, I believe. I did like Minecraft 360 Let's Plays and pretty much after that, I started to do the Wii U edition. Because 360 at that point was getting kind of, I think this was around 2017, so it was starting to get really, like, laggy and stuff. And, at the time, I didn't really know how to downgrade. So it's really nice looking back at, like, these older versions. also I bought a very cheap webcam, but there was actually a reason why I got one with such a crappy mic. It's actually, so, fun fact, I actually wanted one with a crappy mic just so I could, have a more accurate, like, how people, older webcams back in the day, like how people used to stream. Which I want, which people didn't even use webcams to stream back in the day, or like, for audio, they mainly used a headset. Fun fact, I used to record on, you're gonna laugh at this, I used to record Let's Play videos on the 360 microphone headset. You know when you get the 360 and you'd first get it and you'd have this very crappy headset? Oh man, that brings me back. And I remember getting a little adapter so I could hook it up to my PC, my Sony Vaio Windows Vista machine. And I remember upgrading that Vaio to Windows 8. I really liked Windows 8, you know. A lot of people hated it, but I never really had a problem with the Metro UI. I honestly kind of liked it. In fact, I find it very nostalgic because, you know, you look like, oh, Windows XP is better. Yes, Windows XP is better. I could choose Windows XP over any operating system. But here's the problem. Windows XP isn't very safe to use no more. There was actually a post Reddit, a post that was on Reddit that had about hackers hacking into Windows XP and stuff. Which, if Windows 8 gets discontinued, I don't give a flying crap. I'm still gonna use it. Actually, it is discontinued, but like when it's unsafe to use in a couple of years. Because the main reason why I don't use XP is not because it's unsafe, because, well, most of them use 32-bit processors, right? That's what XP was built for. And, you know, really, when you install RAM into a computer, it only recognizes 4 gigs of RAM on, you know, a 32-bit operating system, meaning, well, editing is going to be a literal hell. Like, you'd have to have a very high-end system to, like, Windows 8 system to edit with 4 gigs of RAM. I'm talking about probably unofficial supported system. I don't even think GTX 1080 would even be strong enough to render with 4 gigs of RAM. I think you need something like an RTX 30 something. But yeah. Even then, that probably wouldn't even be enough. I'm not sure. I never tried editing with 4 gigs of RAM. Well, I actually did. My Vaio had 4 gigs of RAM, and that one, but you gotta remember, this is back in, like, the Premiere Pro CS6 days, right? This is back when, like, 4 gigs was a standard. Like, of course, if you use Adobe Premiere Pro CS6, it's gonna work fine at editing. But I wouldn't recommend because it's a very outdated editing software. fact, funny thing, Adobe itself is not recommended for me because that's way too hard to use. I mean, I've been using DaVinci Resolve 15 that was released back in 2018. It was for Windows 8. It was the last compatible one was Windows 8, and I mean, this editing software is amazing. I mean, it's really good. Fun fact, people say Windows 7 isn't safe to use. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, any operating system's not safe to use. I mean, other than Windows 11. Even Windows 10 isn't very safe to use. I mean, well, it's not going to be after 2025. And if you're thinking about me upgrading to Windows 11, you are out of your mind. In fact, if Windows 8 ever comes to a point where it's unstable, where I can't even browse the web or on it, or even connect to my YouTube account through OBS or Elgato streaming software, then you better bet I'm not getting Windows. I'm getting a Mac because one, you're out of your mind if I'm using Windows 11, and obviously I know Microsoft very well. They're obviously going to screw up the next Windows because they did it with Windows 10. They did it with Windows 11. They did it with Windows 8.1 because Windows 8.1 ran worse than Windows 8. So, yeah, I mean, so the thing about Microsoft is that company, right, I'm fine refurbishing tech. I'm gonna do that as a living, but, if I ever get a job to applicate at, Microsoft, if I ever got, really liked on Microsoft, I would not join them. I mean, I would not apply there because that is one of the most corrupt companies, right? Apple is another one of them I wouldn't apply at. Sony, yes, Sony, I would apply there any day if they hired me. I mean, those people are really good people. They care about their customers. I mean, every time I see a new Sony product like a PlayStation, or anytime when they released phones back then, I think it was the Sony phones, I forgot what they were called. They were the Windows Phone, but they were probably one of the best Windows phones you can get besides the Nokia. And well, I need to concentrate, man. But yeah, I mean, Sony, they're a really good company. I highly recommend you go buy their products. I don't mean to ditch on Xbox, but let's be for real. When was the last time you saw a good Xbox? Just tell me. It would be like, oh, Game Pass, think of Game Pass. No. The only Xbox I was ever into was first the 360, of course, and then second the original Xbox. Pretty much after that, I went towards PlayStation because as soon as I saw the Xbox One commercial and I saw it say oh, Connect TV, Connect, that crap, I'm like, what about the games? Where are the games? You're releasing a gaming console, but if you're releasing a system about the games. And the thing about, yes, I did get the Series X, but the Series X might be the last Xbox I own because, I just played it once, never played it again. The thing about the Series X is it's one system that, like, right after they made Game Pass available on your computer, because nowadays you could, like, I could literally play Xbox on my phone, you know that, right? Like, they have this app called the Xbox app, and, pretty much if I want to play Xbox, I'll play it on my phone with my controller, my controller I have. It runs better because one, I have really good mobile data. I mean, my mobile data is far better than my internet, and let's be for real, the moment I get on the lobby of Halo Infinite, it just locks me out, so I haven't really played on it since. But, and the fact that, and another thing about Xbox is they require you to be online at all times. Like, I was fine with it during the Xbox One, but to be honest, I didn't really get the Xbox One until the end of its generation. I'm talking about 2018, and even then, I never used my Xbox One S. I never used it. I mean, I chose the PS4 over it any day. And what kind of sad is the fact that I couldn't get the PS5. So I pretty much missed out on a lot of games, like all my friends play on PlayStation, and it's sad to think that it's almost the end of its generation and I missed out a whole generation of PlayStation. And that only makes me not want to get Xbox even more because I haven't really been seeing no new exclusives on Xbox, and I'd be looking at the PlayStation trailers, I'm like, wait a second, what was I playing again? Was I playing on a gaming console or a paperweight? Like, aside from Halo Infinite, what was even on Xbox, like the 360 is an exception, okay? The 360 original Xbox is an exception because, but guys, if you want a gaming console, and I'm just being dead honest with you, I'm not an Xbox fanboy, and I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I like both systems. I ain't no fanboy, okay? I like Nintendo. I love the Switch. The Switch was an amazing console. The Switch is, wow, the thing about the Switch, I never even owned a regular Switch. I've used the Switch Lite, and from my experiences with the Switch Lite, it's been amazing, it was a really good handheld. So, yeah, I'm very impressed with, how far Nintendo's come, because, you compare it to something like the Wii U that was a big flop, right? And you compare the Wii U to the Switch, it was amazing. Now, I hate to say this, but you compare the Switch to something like the Game Boy or the original DS. So there's just no discussion here. I mean, the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy all the Game Boys were just probably one of my all-time favorite handhelds. And even with Sony, the PS Vita at the time, when the 3DS came out, the PS Vita wasn't bad though. Like, I don't know why people were hating on it. There was, yeah, I recently got a PS Vita and I've been playing the crap out of it lately, and, I gotta say, it was a very underrated system. I mean, and if you be like, oh, there's no games for it, well, think about it. Think about it. Don't say that jailbreaking it was a problem, because let's be real, there's been a jailbreak for the Vita since the day it came out. If you bought a Vita, and I'm being honest with you, I'll guarantee you jailbroken it before, because, like, that anybody who owned a Vita, they jailbroken it. If they didn't, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, it was pretty easy. You just need to hook it up to your computer, download a couple files, and you're pretty much done. Because the Vita, the thing about the Vita, it is very powerful for its time. It was a lot more powerful than its predecessor called the 3DS. But let's be for real, the 3DS was so much better than the Vita. But even then, the Vita, it has some horsepower. You could play quite a bit of emulators on it. It was sort of like the ultimate retro handheld. Yeah, it was a. I think the reason why it didn't work out for Sony is not because it was a bad handheld. I think it's mainly because they didn't put enough effort into it. Like, it wasn't like the Wii U, where like, oh, it's extremely underpowered and it basically has like the equivalent to PS3 at the time. Let's be for real, it's 2012 at the time when that came out. Which, let's be for real, the PS4 was already in development at the time, and there's no excuse for a next-gen console in the PS4 era and Xbox One era to have, okay, what am I doing? There's no excuse for a console to come out in, like, towards the time where the PS4 is coming out, right? Because you gotta remember, the 360 came out a year before the PS3, right? And it had just as much power as, like, well, almost just as much power as the PS3, And, now, we can't forget about the issues they had, though, because you gotta remember those GPUs were 90 nanometers, so they weren't really reliable. But towards the couple of years later, they came out with the later models of the fat model of the PS3 and 360, like the CECH L01 and the Falcon base 360s, which, well, Falcon version 2s, which basically fixed those problems. And then even then they had service consoles, like, you would send in your console to like Microsoft or Sony and you get this like Microsoft or Sony refurbished console, and you would get pretty much a fixed system if you were lucky. But most of the time you get a fixed system. I kid you not. If you send it in during the year 2008 or 2009. So at the time, and I don't understand why Microsoft and Sony used the 90 nanometer processors, because you gotta remember this was 2005, right? And you gotta remember the 9800 GT was out at the time. Well, no, not the 9800 GT. That was 2007. There was you gotta remember they had the Nvidia FX, and they also had the AMD Radeon HD series that just came out, and you know it could have been used, and that's the same thing they used on the PS4 and the Xbox One. But I just don't understand why they didn't use it on, the 360 and PS3, because that could have made it where like a lot stronger, and it could have made the generation, a lot longer and a lot more reliable. Now, I kid you not, the 360 and PS3 had some great games. I'll tell you right now, there's no discussion. I was really into the PS3. I mean, a lot of people did not like the PS3 at the time, but I've owned several PS3s. I've owned a backwards compatible one, which, my dad got in 2006, and well, it died out around 2012 it failed, which was a very long time for a launch system like that. I think it was a 60 gig for what I remember. It was a CECH A01. So, yeah. And that really shows how, good the PS3 was with, the hardware. But even then, I've heard some people, you gotta remember, my PS3 wasn't a US region 1. We lived in Germany at the time, so it wasn't really, I think it was a German region 1, so, those were kind of built a little better than the US, so I'll guarantee if I got a 360 from a different, actually no, mine was a Japan unit, because it was an A00, that's the one it was, because, I think my dad got it on the way to Afghanistan, so it was yeah, it was a Japan unit. Now, I owned several 360s. I had a core model, which was from '05. That one, this kind of pissed me off back then. I had that thing for a week. I got it GameStop refurbished. And, one, the fans were obnoxiously loud. And that's how my current 360 is. So I got my current 360 from GameStop. And apparently what GameStop does is they do these things called 12-volt fan mods. And they also do bolt mods. And, they use these things called crumble drives, which aka called the Toshiba, which are the worst drives you can get. And, why did I craft that? No. Okay, so we're gonna grab, okay, I think our pickaxe is good. Yeah, so they use this thing called, Toshiba drives, and I call them crumble drives, a lot of people do. GameStop was not really a place you'd really look for systems, in my opinion. I think if you were looking for a system at the time that they came out, I think your best bet would probably be eBay, because you gotta remember eBay had a lot more better ways of getting systems fixed, other than doing a 12-volt fan mod and doing a bolt mod. They would actually reball your system, and they would put new solder balls on it, which would make your system a lot more reliable. It would still have the 90nm GPU, but it would last a heck of a lot longer than, a GameStop refurbished system, which, you know, yeah, these systems are just the games. Even with GameStop to this day, can't really recommend getting stuff over there, mainly because, well, I've gotten a PS4 over there once. It was already banned, and then my current 360 had some profile on it, and apparently that profile had some cheats on it, and I didn't know this, but my Xbox is modded. Well, it was originally modded. It had an ROGH done to it, and GameStop completely ripped off the chip without removing the mod, causing, well, my childhood Microsoft account to permanently get banned, which, kind of stinks because, I've had that account since, '09, but, yeah. GameStop, I don't know what they're doing, and then, like, I've seen videos on YouTube from, like, look up a channel called Jacob R. He's made, a lot of videos, like, going over about, why you shouldn't buy stuff at GameStop. He's unboxed 360s, and apparently they used a magic eraser on it. They really don't clean out their systems. I mean, can't really recommend it. And same with Disc Replay. If you're very familiar with Disc Replay, towards the upper part of the U.S., a lot of people have had good experiences with them, but my experience has been kind of dreadful. I mean, this 360, well, not this 360, another one I got, it was an E model. They said they tested it out. I turned it on, and yeah, it didn't read disc. So I took it back. I got a Slim. I'm like, okay, let's not get another E model, and, well, I used that for about a couple months, and then, well, I got the red ring of death. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I got another one, this one, from GameStop, and I already told you about it, and it was modded, and I got banned, so yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, should you get a system from GameStop? No. Should you get a system from Disc Replay? Absolutely not. I forgot how to craft charcoal. Wait a second, hold on. So, you go back to like around 2013, right? There's a lot of rumors about how to fix these issues with 360, and well, unfortunately, that wasn't really found out until more recently, around 2018, when people started to find fixes. And if you look on post on PSX Place around 2019 and 2018, there was like these theories coming around that people first discovered that Microsoft and Sony particularly was using PSG Slim processors on backwards compatible PS3s, and the reason why people found out about it is because, well, very few people who had that done found out that their PSG was lasting a lot longer than it was supposed to. Yeah, it was, and apparently the first person opened it up and he would see this writing on it, and it said 40nm by Sony. And they're like, wait a minute, I thought the PSG fat's not supposed to have a 40 nanometer. And I'm like, well, there goes my, McDonald's Minecraft Happy Meal. That's nice. Let's put that box back up here. I have this little collector's item. There's no way it's not nighttime. Okay, so, yeah, they're like, wait a second, why is there, I didn't know I was supposed to have that. So apparently there was more research done on it, and eventually they found out that Sony was doing that, and people were very skeptical about it at first, because they were like, oh, well, Sony wouldn't do something like that. All they want is to replace people to replace their systems. But no, there was actually a policy about it was actually a servicing company for Sony PS3, and the reason why that wasn't really found out until very late is because you gotta remember the backwards compatible PS3s were very rare. Like, there wasn't many people who owned them. And I am thinking of getting a Frankenstein PS3 and Elvis 360. Because let's be for real, you can hear my main 360 in the background, my Slim, and it's not sounding good. The disk drive is making grinding noises, and the fans are obnoxiously loud. Which, unfortunately, since the system has had a very bad Southbridge problem, unfortunately that 12-volt fan mod is really the only thing I could really do to keep the system from overheating. I think it's about time we head into a cave. So, yeah, then you might be wondering, where do I get all this knowledge from? Well, I've actually done a lot of research on systems, and I know a lot about technology, and I know at a point where, like, they aren't worth fixing, they are worth fixing. In fact, I actually was able to teach my grandma about this stuff, and she actually understands it. She knows, like, the full backstory about 360, and I thought, it's nice to pass down, memories to, like, the older people, like, that you had. But, it's nice. I'm not finding a cave, though, and I should get some food before we restore hunger. But, yeah, I mean, you fast forward to around 2013, right? PS4 just came out. And it sort of took the same leap that the PS3 took, and it's kind of disappointing. I've been through several PS4s that I had. Main issue was Blue Line of Death. Very common. And they also had a lot of fan issues, and pretty much after that, so at the time, my PS4 around 2017, and It's like, hey, I'm gonna bite the dust, and it just gave me the line of death, and fortunately in 2018 I got probably one of the, not one of my favorite systems, the Xbox One. That one had a very bad Wi-Fi card issue with the One S. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know where all the animals are at. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do something that a lot of people are not gonna like, which is going nearby my location and respawning. Oh, nice. Okay. So my map's uploaded. So yeah, with these systems, it's kind of sad how these systems ended up. If they I grew up with the original Xbox, so, you know, I remember when you would buy a system and it would just last a very long time, and good thing the PS5 and the Series X is starting to get back to that level where they're starting to be a lot more reliable. Because the Xbox One had several issues with like disk drive problems and heating problems. And the main issue I had with the Xbox One was, well, my first one was the power brick. I had an Xbox One. It wasn't like a launch model, but it was one I got in 2015. It was the all matte model. It was the same, looked exactly the same. It was all matte. That one, the power brick died out, and then I got another power brick. Those kept dying out, and I just gave up and traded in at GameStop. I didn't care what I got for it. So, yeah. Then, got the 1S because they said they didn't take power bricks no more. That one had a very bad Wi-Fi card issue. Then I'm like, you know what? Let me just fix my old PS4. So I just eventually I was able to reball my PS4, and eventually I got it working. And a really good day for me because I was able to play the games I was missing out on, such as Cyberpunk Deltarune. I was dying to play Deltarune back in 2019. And you better bet I'm going to be making a series of, now this, series I'm creating is only going to be, not many episodes, just like, it's more, I'm not focusing on beating the Ender Dragon, I'm focusing on building a nice town. And then, having like a finale or something. So meanwhile, I'm spawned over here. You guys aren't going to like this, but there's no animals nearby, so this is really my only option. Alright. I'm going to try to find a wood. Oh, come on. There we go. We got that. Alright, so cave it is. Where did my stuff go? probably about 3 episodes in, I'm gonna have like a grand finale where like I celebrate with like about the end of the series, and you know, it's sort of gonna be like a grand finale. Like I'm gonna try to put as much as I can into this series, you know. Because after all, Deltarune's coming out pretty soon. I don't want to make this series like too long. Not thinking of 3 episodes, more like 7 episodes. Yeah, 7 episodes, because 3 episodes is a little too short. But yeah, I mean, that's our first episode, and I hope you guys learned a thing about technology, about the history of 360 and PS3, and my experience with gaming, sort of like my story of, you know, how it all began. About me, tile tricking my 360 when I first got it, played just a little bit more of Halo 3, about, time in 2012 2013 2014 I got a PS4, and it lasted quite a while. You know, just looking back at those good times, and you know, being happy that you had them. You know, appreciating the times you had, and eventually making new memories and being happy, which I am right now. I'm making great memories. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.